So rather than look at sensors and connected technologies within buildings in too much detail, I wanted to discuss some of the challenges, misconceptions, and successes that we are seeing. And before I do, quick introduction to Glider. We are information managers and software developers. We have a product called Glider BIM, and today is not about me promoting or discussing that, but just so you know where we are, we sit in that space around creating and maintaining and using asset information models, mainly about buildings. There's a lot more to the digital twins and building, and that is something I became acutely aware of. So in terms of introducing myself, when I came to the summit, I expected to see a lot of the people that I'd gotten to know down the journey through UK BIM Alliance and that whole BIM journey, construction folk, lots of architects and engineers, and that wasn't who was in the room. So I have had a career that's split between software and architecture, delivering information, designs, models, buildings, and mainly straight towards that digital common data environment side of things, and have recently been involved in some digital twin projects, which we've learned quite a lot from. So this is why I wanted to join the advisory group. And I was surprised to see how few construction-focused people were at the summit, and lots of other people from other verticals and sectors, which was great to see, but was a little bit of a surprise to me. And that was really nice because I joined a room full of people who were enthusiastic about digital twins, when I spend a lot of my time in an industry that tends to say digital twins don't exist. They're a bit of a unicorn. And if you're talking about digital twins, you're some kind of salesman charlatan trying to take advantage of something that doesn't exist yet. And I know that will sound quite alien to some people in the room, especially since we've just watched how somebody else has created digital twins. But this is where the thinking is in construction at the moment. So the penny drop for me, it's about context. Why is it that the construction industry see digital twins as something difficult and almost non-existent, whereas other parts of the world are doing things quite advanced and getting some real benefit? So I wanted to challenge some of that today. So first thing, conception. I love this diagram, how to create a digital twin. It's not mine, but it's a nice diagram. It says, essentially, this is the process for creating a digital twin. Quite nice. But then when you align that next to the process for creating a built asset, a building or a piece of infrastructure, it's not really as simple as that. The digital twin and the data and the BIM side often takes a bit of a back seat to the process of designing and building the right thing. So we see initial enthusiasm around digital twins early in the project. And by the time we're approaching site, the maturity of the supply chain, the realities of the contract, and everything else, it starts to draw us away from that. So we see a lot of projects that start meaning well and don't actually get anywhere near a digital twin during the actual delivery. And then another conception I wanted to challenge is that buildings are simple and all of the systems are connected and they all feed back to the building management system. And creating a digital twin is simply a case of connecting that building management system into the data we've collected through the BIM process, and up pops a digital twin. It's much more nuanced than that. There's lots of different systems. They don't all talk the same language. Some of them produce data, some of them don't produce data, some of them are shareable, some of them aren't. And it's very challenging to get a building to talk anything like a shared language. There are protocols and things that are emerging, but compatibility is a real challenge. And then we throw in a couple of variables: how people use a building and the weather on the outside of the building. They change an awful lot as well. So this is a really challenging area. How do we make buildings very compatible with the idea of a digital twin? It can be done, but it's hard. And this is one of the reasons why people kind of dismiss it and often say, should we just focus on BIM first? And then consistency is the third one I wanted to discuss today. If you have a large estate with multiple buildings that look the same, one of our biggest customers is the DIO. They are the estate expert for the Ministry of Defence, and they manage around 2% of the UK landmass, as well as a number of assets that we wouldn't recognise as building, but they are still considered as assets in their language. But even if you've got two things that look and feel the same, two houses, two office blocks built at the same time, they're never actually the same. They're built differently. The technology is different, and it's just not quite the same. So baselining is incredibly difficult in the construction sector for digital twins. So this is just some of the challenges that I believe are leading to some of the negative sounds that come out of the construction side of the industry about digital twins. And these are things that we are trying to overcome, but we're not on top of all of these challenges yet, because they are big challenges. I'm not to mention those at all. So as we haven't got loads of time today and I'm moving quite quickly, I'd just like to make a bit of a plea to say, don't leave the building people behind, and don't take the cynicism personally. It's just a really tough thing that we're trying to do. But there are things that are moving forward. We are adopting information management through ISO 19650. We are seeing schemas increase in maturity. We've had the Kobe schema for a while, and people are getting better at producing it. But things like the brick schema for smart buildings, we're getting there. We're seeing more master systems integrators on projects, so people actually making all of those systems work together. That's a very positive move. We're seeing that on a couple of projects that I'm working on. The connectivity between technology is improving, but it's also dispersing a little bit into some of the manufacturers having their own ecosystem and other manufacturers having a different ecosystem. So we've got some progress and some slight regression there, some competitive regression. But things like the Building Safety Act and the new guidance putting that legislative pressure on the industry to standardize is actually really helping us look after information better and produce better information. And our clients are getting a bit more ambitious in terms of what they're asking for, rather than just striking out, I want BIM level 2 and writing, I want digital twin on the top of their documentation. They're starting to consider what it is they actually need. And we're feeding some of those lessons learned from some of the early smart buildings back in. So we're seeing some real progress. So one project I wanted to have a quick talk to you about was the Five Wells prison. There is a lot of really interesting work done here. So this is not the exemplar digital twin. I don't think there is the one in the building sector that we all point to and say it's definitely that. But there's a lot of really interesting work that went into this. There is a lot of repeatable elements that have actually been repeated. So we do have consistency here. We do have sensors, we do have data, we do have a time series database collecting some of that data. And unlike other types of buildings, you're not going to see a vast change in the way the tenancy is used. You're not going to see one business move out and another business move in. It's always going to be prison residents who are going through the system here. So we can baseline it a little bit better. So we have started some projects with Kia, MOJ, and a few other partners to look at what we can do with some of that data. And we've already identified some really good areas of progress in that we had a design that heated water 3 times a day, and then a humidity sensor telling us that we are only creating humidity twice a day. So we're only creating that much humidity in the showers on 2 of those heating cycles. So one of those heating cycles could be slowed a little. So there's definitely a lot of progress in this side of the industry. But as I say, I came along to the summit expecting to see essentially a bit of the old club from the UK BIM Alliance days back in the task group days. And we'd see what we're doing next. And it was an entirely different audience and speaking a different language to the building focused world. So I wanted to share some of those thoughts with you today. So thank you very much for listening. I hope there's some questions I can help with.